I'm going to lead us towards talking about sex, but still with the hormones in mind. So part of that cycle is the, I'm going to use the non-technical term, but those horny days where we're ovulating and we're actually preparing to have a baby. Kind of, there's a purpose. So maybe bring some more technical terms in and talk about those hormones, what's happening there in the body, and then how that might be affecting even just how we are living into our own sexuality.
Yeah. So I saw on your questions you're asking me about sex. I go, oh boy, sex is complicated. The hormonal phases of sex for women are really interesting because during the menstrual cycle, right when you ovulate, when the egg comes out and it's time when we're fertile, all the bodily changes are happening. There's a mucus change. There's a clear runny mucus that happens vaginally. I can remember this sort of clear bubble gum. It looks kind of like kind of runny snot that's really stretchy and clear. And I remember seeing that. Going, what is that? But it's called spin-barkate mucus, where that's where you're most fertilizable. But when that is rich in your body, there's a longing. There's a longing that happens in the body, a sexual appetite, and young girls don't even know what that is. I don't know that young boys know what that is either when it shows up, but it's like there becomes this longing for physical intimacy and touch that is rooted in God's creation, that this is how we make babies. But I don't think we're supposed to make babies when we're 13 or 14, but there is that longing that begins to show up that's confusing. And it's rooted in, some of the estrogen makes that mucus, some testosterone shows up. It's called the female hormone of desire, but it's biologic. It's intended to procreate. That's what it's there for. And yet we have to learn how to navigate those feelings when we're young. If we don't know what they are, we can act impulsively against them or with them, just because it's powerful.
It is. And it is God design. I keep coming back to that, particularly for certain Christian women who maybe got a teaching of shame around this, but recognizing He's the one who thought of this idea.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of the culture and people's, harm stories that have perpetuated a shame piece. But so we've got this desire that does get kind of amplified with the hormone meant to bring us together for procreation. But now we have 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. I mean, Mary back in, the biblical times was married around this time. So I keep telling my daughters, I'm like, it makes sense that you would have this, because in old cultures, or some cultures still, but most of today, we would not marry off a 16-year-old. But they get that. They're like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
What's it, Mary? 15, 16?
Yeah. Right? So they were all having babies early.
Yeah.
But we don't do that in our culture. So just trying to give them some logic about it. Like, it's a bummer that you have many years to have to kind of be able to nurture and care for this. So let's speak to that.
Well, let me reframe that. It's a bummer, and it's also a gift, right? So I want to make sure I took on that. I don't want to be.
I was thinking it's a bummer that they had to wait so long, but
whoa! But it's also a gift because we get to develop so many other parts of us, right? That we can. It is a bummer that we can't give in to our appetite so early on, but it also is a gift in that we can develop so many other parts of ourselves. Because I hate to break it. I mean, you're a mom. I'm a mom. Once you're a mom, I mean, you're a mom, right? And there aren't these other, I likely wouldn't have gone to medical school had I become a mother at 16, 17, 18. So when I think about that, I'm grateful for the ability to say I can do both, but I have to be aware that I can't do both that young. I don't think I could have navigated that. So it's a gift too. I just want to say that.
Yeah, it's a gift. I'm glad you caught that. I was thinking more in like, it can be a bummer in having to care for that God designed part of you
Yeah.
longer than maybe what was, designed for earlier generations. And so for us, it just, for 10 years, 20 years, I don't know what their stories are going to entail. And I think, some girls marry early, some girls marry in their
Yeah.
40s. So the idea of wanting to follow Christ
Mm-hmm.
and with their mind, body, heart, and soul
Mm-hmm.
and live from a biblical worldview, our sexuality can't just be put on a shelf.
Right. It's hard to wait. It's hard to wait. That's
Yeah,
what you're talking about. You're putting words
yeah.
to.
But just the reality of those hormones is what I'm wanting moms to have compassion for
Yeah.
and to say, bring this into the dialogue.
Yeah.
Talk about strategies and how to care for your body during those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Because you said it, a lot of girls don't even have a clue what's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
they just, we even talk about this, Dr. Nancy, about like those times of the month noticing it. And that's like the worst time to watch a lovey-dovey rom-com movie.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
like feed the fantasy.
Uh-huh.
So just practically being able to talk about how the body's moving and shifting,
Mm-hmm.
and it will
Mm-hmm.
pass. Um, but when you think about sex, we'll start with the mom-daughter dynamic. What do you wish moms would really teach their girls about their sexuality?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about before marriage, before they ever experience it. That's the paradigm.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I looked some stuff up because I wanted some facts for you. Um, I think there's the wish as a mother, right? There's a wish of what we want for our daughters, which is good and holy, right? It's good and holy that we want purity and we want safety and we want discernment and we want protection of this very special part of them, right? And that you don't share it with someone frivolously or not in line with your spiritual beliefs. There's what we wish for, and then there's reality of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the piece that's so hard, when I was in my clinic, because if you just look at, what percentage of young women in high school don't lose their virginity, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
numbers are all over the place, but I'm going to say up to 50% for sure lose their virginity in high school, right? And yet, 2/3 of those young women that lost their virginity in high school in their life, looking back, regret it. And so, as a mother, what we can only hope for is that our daughters don't regret the choices they make, right? That's a really important thing for me to be able to hope that we can build a conversation or a connection with our daughter that they can have a place to go to talk about these things, because I think it's in a vacuum where things happen and regrets happen and we have nowhere to go with it. And just like, a pastor friend of mine said, if you don't want to marry a sinner, don't get married.
Sure.
Right? So I think if you don't want to have an imperfect child, don't have a child, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
because there's mistakes made all along the way in life, right? But we have to have a safe place to go when we fall prey to whatever is happening in schools, by choices, by thoughts, by wonderings, by what boys are telling us. So my hope for mothers and daughters is that they can have real conversations.
Yeah, you just beating the drum of courageous girls and why moms want to do it, because that at the end of the day, I think because of the work we do in the counseling office, Dr. Nancy, is so many of the regrets and the sitting with girls and women in their timelines and looking back is they were alone in it, and not
Mm-hmm.
because their mom or their dad didn't care and
Mm-hmm.
didn't love them and weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
They just weren't equipped and didn't have the tools to lean in and to they were nervous about these conversations too. So the ongoing space, safety, and trust to be able to just talk our way through it lowers the likelihood. Doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
it's a foolproof. So that's what I hear your wisdom
Mm-hmm.
saying to these moms. And the other piece is, regardless of her story, that she knows God is with her and you are with her
Mm-hmm.
and she's going to be okay. He uses all of it,
Mm-hmm.
and those mistakes or those choices
Mm-hmm.
are part of her journey. And that's really hard. I mean, I'm right there in that pocket as I'm getting ready to launch my girls into the world and all their choices. But the relationship is there. And so I bank on that.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so I appreciate you getting us rooted in the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's ever happening, I hope she's willing to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
And how should moms should, I'm going to take out the
Yeah,
should.
thank
It's not a
you.
should. How do you want mom to practice responding when she's getting triggered and overwhelmed by her daughter's choices, but she's coming to her?
Yes, yes. I love that. If daughters are coming to you, it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes it's hard. You just want to go, oh, I don't want to hear this. But um, I just think I guess the word grace comes to mind in this so much that um, I give us all grace in humanity, how hard this is to navigate life. And so being open and being able to hold information without judgment makes it a safer place to enter. Just like a doctor would listen to the horrors of things I've heard, you know, um, date rape, you know, uh, just some of the horrors of things, and be able to just sit and hold it and listen and say, I'm here, you're not alone, and we're going to navigate this together, right?
Mm, good.
And
Those
and
are beautiful words.
and not shaming. I think it's so easy to let shame trickle in. And the other day I used the word shame, and someone goes, "What's that?" I go, "Well,
Mm,
I don't think anyone talks about shame enough in the world. That
mm,
that no one goes to Starbucks and says, "Gosh, I'm feeling really ashamed today." Right? It's a feeling that kind of hides, and so being able to acknowledge that some of the things we do as humans can feel shameful, but to be able to say, where do I go with it? Who do I go to?
mm.
And I've also looked up a statistic. Like, I'd be curious to ask you, Tara, how many young women do you think tell their moms about their first sexual encounter?
I don't know the statistic on
It's
that,
a
but I would
very
think it's
low.
pretty
It's a
low.
very
Yeah.
low number.
Yeah, especially even more so today in such a digitally distracted culture.
Right.
We have less connection than ever before, even though
Mm-hmm.
moms might be helicopter
Yeah.
moms.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're safe.
No.
What's the
So
statistic?
it's a hard one to find because it's a not telling statistic. And you
Yeah.
just mentioned the helicopter mom issue. The more you helicopter, the less you'll hear. I want
Hmm.
to tell you this right now. The more you swoop in, the more the walls go up. So that I think it's probably in my survey, because I sort of in my practice was really curious about that, because moms would say, "Oh, I'll know," and I said, "Oh, I don't know about that." I think it's less than 10%.
Yeah, wow, that's jaw dropping.
Yeah.
And maybe we're making a difference with Courageous
Mm-hmm.
Girls. And I think that's one of my heartbeats is a lot of moms think they're going to do Courageous Girls because their girls are going to make every right choice. And I'm like, little do you know that the point is for safety and attachment
Mm-hmm.
and care
Mm-hmm.
for you to learn grace, mom, for your own journey. Because we
Yeah.
get triggered, right? If we
Right.
made a mistake when that daughter hits that
Yeah. You're
age,
going to go, whook.
uh-huh.
Right.
How to not do the pendulum swing and to be a non-anxious presence
Mm-hmm.
and let her have her journey
Yeah.
with you there is how I think God is
Yeah.
very much with us,
Yeah.
but we're not puppets. So
Like, I think
he's
the
walking.
beauty, like, daughters love their moms so much. Like, they would say, so, like, I can't tell her.
It would crush her.
Yeah. She'd be so disappointed in me.
Mm,
Right.
yeah.
And yet, that's sad. Right.
Mm,
It's sad that there's, by hoping for purity, which of course, like, that's where I started this all, was that there's what we hope for and then there's reality, right?
mm,
So that to be able to say, I hope for your safety, I hope for your choices to be what you want them to be, but if they're not, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for you in it all. To be able to have that culture in your home, I'm here for anything, bring me anything, I'm here for it. And without judgment. I think we have to be really careful with judgment.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, really, really important. So
Mm-hmm.
good, Dr. Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So before we leave moms talking to their daughters, is there anything else you feel led to say or share about sexuality? Otherwise, I want to shift over to mom and her own relationship with her sexuality.
The last thing I might say in my, this is wisdom. This isn't a book I've written yet. You have to practice on easy topics if you're going to talk about hard topics. Like, if conversations have to be open and fluid in between mothers and daughters about all sorts of things. Because if you just swoop in and say, we're going to have the sex talk, and you've never had a conversation about their favorite cereal or the last movie you watched together or how your marriage is with your husband or, all sorts of things, the more you can be in conversation about all the things, the more you're likely to have healthy conversations around the difficult things.
So good. And just in humor, like the other side of the coin is where you make everything seems to lead into sexuality. So that would be my fault. I spent years, in practice working with sexual betrayal and helping women through sexual abuse and just all of the really difficult sides. And so coming home, we talk about cereal, and then somehow it led back to
Right.
sex. And my girls at one point were like, Mom, not everything is about sex. And then I paused and I'm going, this is before they got into high school
Yeah.
and public school. And now they're funny. They go, how? I think you were right, Mom. Everything seems to go back to
There's
sex
a lot of sex
when it goes to the teenage years.
Right,
But
for sure.
yeah, but I love that. Just starting small, building safety there, talking about everything, and this just being another part
Correct.
of who we are as women.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll land the plane
Okay.
with the big doozies, but just, women, the stories are diverse, and there isn't a one box that we're talking to, but there are some undercurrent themes that women in general, I think helps women not feel alone when they know that this is a general thing that women can struggle with when it comes to sex. So maybe speak to the moms and women in general. What are those themes that you've heard in your practice or in your counseling practice?
Just female sexuality. Is that what we're
Yeah.
okay? Um, I think what I'd like to tell the moms is that female sexuality is different than male sexuality. I think I'd like to start there because I frequently would have a woman come in and say, my husband thinks I need to talk to you because my sex drive is not the same as his. And I began to realize in my career that women were measuring their sexuality with a ruler that was male dominant. And I do have a book in my mind about this called The She Factor because I think female sexuality has a different personality. And the feminine libido, which is our desire to have sex, our appetite, is different than the male libido. And I think we have to come to terms with our own sexuality and not try to measure it against anybody else's, including our husbands or the internet or Hollywood, and to really get to know our own side of who we are, how it manifests, what it likes, when she shows up. And also the feminine, women will say, I just don't feel like it. And I would again be curious about that because it's usually saying something, right? When the female libido gets quiet, I tell women that the female libido is like a pilot light. It's a flame and it flickers, and the male libido is like a freaking bonfire that can blow you out. And so you have to sort of get curious about your own and get to know it and be true to it. And I also think there's some sexual dysfunction out there. Many women have never had an orgasm, don't know what it is, and I think it's worthy of exploring that with your doctor. There's secondary lack of desire, which can often be relational. Oftentimes, a lack of desire shows up in women when they have a marital issue. And they don't want to say, I have a marital issue. They want to say, I don't want to have sex with my husband anymore. So it's a very wonderful and curious thing to explore, the female sexuality.
So good. Uh, Describe a little bit more. You have been, but I just want to tease out another layer of the she factor, or I guess that's the name of the book,
Mm-hmm.
but how it is so different. It's a flicker.
Right.
Uh, Name more of how is female sexuality show up in
Yeah,
general? Because every woman you're saying has her unique
correct.
bent there.
So there have been studies of how often women think about sex in the course of the day, and men. They had them put a little card in their pocket, and just put and see what triggered men and women to think about sex, right? And men. I have a guy friend who goes, "Yeah, we ran out of cards, right?" Men are like men. For men, their sexuality can be very physical. They actually have an organ that talks to them quite a lot, very differently than women. And they get these little feeling of erections, or they get physically stimulated through their eyes, and they're wired quite differently. And for women, when you look at our own sexuality, um, it has a lot of on ramps for women that can include connection, like for women, being connected to a partner emotionally can be an on ramp for their libido. Smells, colors, nature. They're sort of so it's more nuanced. It is more complex and it is more varied than men. I hate to say that. I'll probably be called out if any men listen to this podcast. But for women, the female sexuality is more subtle, more complex, and easier. A pilot light is easier to blow out than a bonfire, right? So it's actually more delicate. And so I think just finding the flicker is, I think, women's first challenge. And maybe they've never been allowed to. Maybe there's abuse in their life that has blown it out. So, for example, maybe it's wired in there with trauma. And so, if you've been traumatized sexually, your normal wirings for that libido, just the pilot light went out. So to be able to separate trauma from your own true, beautiful sexual self is important. That's where trauma informed care comes in. And then to reignite and find your own pilot light, right? Also, for example, if a couple, if your partner wants to have sex every night, women say, I don't really want to. And I go, how in the world can you find your own appetite if you're not given the opportunity to find it, if someone else's appetite's way bigger than yours, right? So we have to make room for space to sort of let women's own sexual selves express itself.
Mhm. That is really well said, and just I think a good reframe for women. This is a statistic. I used to teach classes on healthy sexuality alongside another well known OBGYN in our community. And so this might be a little outdated because now I think about it, that might have been, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. But in general, I had learned that women tend to once a month, maybe twice a month, maybe find their appetite in general. Again, some women have based on their bodies and their stories, and men maybe every other day. Daily is a lot for some men. I mean, a lot of men are like, whoa, that's not me. But every few days, like every 3 seconds, they get a little drop of something in sexually or thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think trying to find for couples, particularly a balance between the two,
Mm-hmm.
where sex isn't always about the orgasm, maybe for the woman,
Mm-hmm.
but making sure there's room for her. Does that does that rhythm sound anywhere in the framework of what you understand about men and women and their differences? Again, some couples might
Yeah,
not have sex monthly at all, and
right.
that's okay. There's a framework that has
Yeah,
different typical cycles.
I think the challenge I saw in relationships with sexuality was just to find a dance that agreed with both of them.
Yeah.
That in it, and that's part of marriage, right? That's part of meeting in the middle. It's no different than, do we leave dishes in the sink overnight or not? It's like, what do I want? What do you want? What do we want? What do
Mhm.
I want? And I think I can empower women. It's to find out what they want.
Mhm.
I think that culturally, I'm not even sure we know that we've been called just to answer the call, right? To say, oh, you want, okay, I'll give. But to be able to say, what do I want? What would be good for me? Um, and that's something to explore. I think that has to do with self-esteem. I think it has to do with empowerment. I think it also has to do with, if I don't want it all ever, did something happen to me? Is
Mm.
the time I was raped
Good
when I was
question.
in high school still impacting me sexually with my husband, and he doesn't even know about the rape? Um, is the abortion that I had if impacting me that I haven't even told him about? So there's so many layers to this that impact that beautiful part of us that is God given. That I think it's a journey of figuring it out.
Yeah, it is. In my book, Courageous, I touch very quickly in chapter 8 on sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that maybe someday there might be a bigger resource that's provided. But the invitation was maybe to do a sexual timeline and to work with someone safe, like a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
but to look at your story. And that's what you're really asking women to do, is that being a part of the curiosity.
Yeah.
And where do you see rhythms? Of maybe the flicker being there, and did it go out, and how did you learn about being a woman, your sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be a powerful process for a woman, but I would encourage you not to do it alone,
Mm-hmm.
but to start maybe with your own story from start to finish and going, where did I learn these things, what have been my
And
experiences?
also asking the question, where was I taught? Which I don't know about you, but I wasn't sent out with a very full backpack on this topic either in the world. Uh, Fortunately, I went to med school and learned a lot. Mind blown during med school. We saw films, and I'm going, wow,
Wow.
where's this been my whole life? Oh my gosh. But as mothers, don't let your story be your daughter's story. Be courageous enough to say, I think we better do better. I think we can do better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I want to keep you for a whole other hour, Dr. Nancy, but
We'll
our
do
time,
more.
I'm sure, is up. But I would love for you, as you listen to the Holy Spirit, and in all the conversation that we've had today across the board, we could have probably gone way deeper on each of these sections. But is there something that feels left unsaid, or an encouragement you want to offer moms who are raising daughters today, particularly in this culture?
Um, I think really at the end of the day, it's about unconditional love, right? Of self and other, and just mothers loving their daughters, right? And loving themselves, right? And I think that's what God calls us to do, but we just get lost. And then I also don't think we commented enough on the digital era, where some of your mission, I think, is really just to kind of distract us from some of that digital overload that we're getting. But I have not seen anyone go to the internet, spend a lot of time there, and come out feeling calmer, better informed, or more at peace with the Holy Spirit, right? And so be wary of reaching for the wrong resources to get help.
Hmm. Good wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so hard in a digitally, um, I mean, we're heading AI is taking over, and there's
Mm-hmm.
some things where I'm like, this is incredible and this is so scary,
Mm-hmm. Amen.
all mixed in one.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just we're heading into a really new few decades here where this will increase. But what you're saying today, and what I want to remind moms, is God designed us for real relationship, and we need safety, and we will always need this human connection
Mm-hmm.
um, at the end of the day. And so be the one who's helping to guide and love and lead your daughter. Because if you don't, she's going to find all of it or reach out elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so we can't prevent also all of the hard things that'll happen in her life, but she'll know that she's never alone, because her God is with her and you are with her. And I'm just so grateful for you to be with us today,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Nancy. A wealth of information and so much good. I love your heart. And if somebody wanted to reach out to you, particularly in our Oregon community, or maybe they're a physician who is just weary and tired and would love to be able to get some coaching with you, how can they find you?
I think the best way is email nancy@livingwholehearted.com. All
right.
one word. I would be happy to respond. I'm quick to respond, and I love hearing from people. Thanks for having me, Tara.
Love having you. All right. Well, until next time, share this with someone. Help them hear a little bit about the wisdom of what it means to be female and all the beauty, and also to learn about what we're doing at Courageous Girls. If you want to learn more of how to walk with your daughter at every stage of her growing years, go to mycourageousgirls.com or download the Courageous app. Until next time, continue to trust that God has chosen you to be the mama for your daughter for such a time as this. He's with you and he's with her. I'm so grateful that you're joining us each time we air. Imagine a girl who knows she is loved. Imagine a girl who knows how her gifts and her talents and the way she was made, even her limitations, were going to be used on purpose, are being used on purpose by her God. Imagine a girl who knows how to use her voice, especially for those who are voiceless. Imagine a girl who knows how to ask for help, who's honest with her God and with others, who knows how to lean into friendships, to move through conflict, to communicate well, to even work on how to forgive and learn how to move through rather than around. Imagine a girl who loves the Lord her God with all her heart, with all her mind, with all her body, with all her soul, with her relationships and her actions. This is Courageous Girls. And it's not only just for our daughters, but it's for us mamas as well. If you want to learn more, go to mycourageousgirls.com or go download the Courageous Girls app. This is a free online resource, a curriculum that helps you walk with your daughter at every stage of her growing years, so that she and you can learn more about what it means to be a girl who knows she's loved and love others well in a world of confusing messages. Today's the day. Are you in?